Your goal as a leader, in my opinion, is to create the conditions to create that environment for people to be successful. How are people successful when they don't have the tools or the information to do the work well? If they're not competent, how do we bring their competence up? And so this is, to me, what you're talking about here is a shared journey.
Hey, welcome. It's Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher, a communications and leadership expert with a couple of decades under my belt and a whole heap of curiosity, just like yourself, on how we can make the workplace a better place. Today is the third part of our four-part conversation with Dr. Rob Leon, and it's really important to understand that leadership development isn't something we do alone. It is not. We are not an island. We are not out there by ourselves. On this episode of the podcast, I sit down with Dr. Rob Leon to explore how leadership growth should never be a solo act. Sorry, you're out in the wilderness? No, that's not how you approach this. If we want to build trust, deepen engagement, retain our best people, we need to bring them along in the process. So we get into how leaders should be embedding development into their everyday actions, from one-on-ones to monthly sit-downs to showing vulnerability without losing credibility. It's important. It's really important. And Rob shares some insights that I'm really excited to share with you. Hold on.
And to your point, nice segue, Rob, is that this isn't all about us. I mean, as much as leadership development, we're not islands over here. So as we work to define, we're understanding our self-awareness and we're understanding our own leadership journey. How are we bringing our teams into this? Are they part of the journey? Are they an other within this part of it? Or how do we engage our employees on our own leadership journey?
Yeah. Have you taken an inventory of all the difficult aspects of the organizations I've worked with? Because these are all parts of those conversations, right? Like, leadership is as much about your people and yourself as it is in essentially the task or the mission you're looking to accomplish. Your goal as a leader, in my opinion, is to create the conditions to create that environment for people to be successful. How are people successful when they don't have the tools or the information to do the work well? If they're not competent, how do we bring their competence up? And so this is, to me, what you're talking about here is a shared journey. And this is where I love leaders that role model this stuff, right? So monthly meetings, let's say, and also it relates to their one-on-ones. We're carving out a part of our time to talk about self and team development. And whether that's the materials we got from a workshop, whether that's what are you reading now, whether that's let's listen to a 15-minute podcast on what we're talking about here and discussing. This, to me, is an important part of that value-added experience for our employees that is going to keep them at organizations. But the byproduct of that is that you're creating rapport, relationships, growing trust, as well as you're growing this ground so that you can more naturally have these feedback and accountability conversations. So I believe in the leader being vulnerable, opening up, not disclosing their whole life story, strategic sharing, and then bringing people in as a part of that journey, right? At some level, we need to know what's best for X. When I say X, that can mean this engineering design. That can mean the service line we're providing for our customers or our clients, and know best for moving the team forward. It's the leader needs to be, and I can appreciate this because I had a client that once said, we were talking about goals, and it's like, Rob, I can't even look that far ahead because my head is so down day to day of what's going on now. So this is a real difficult concept talking about goals, right? We want to create that space to do this so that they are looking over all their people's heads to see what's coming down the way. And part of that is building self-sufficient members of your team. But it's for most organizations, you can't hire self-sufficient members. You have to cultivate and grow them based on what your organizational priorities are.
And I always love the idea of bringing up vulnerability because I think nothing builds relationship better than understanding that as a leader, I don't have all the answers either.
Yep.
I'm also on a leadership journey. I didn't come in here fully baked and ready to go and have all the answers for you. One of the best experiences I had, an executive do a presentation, super nervous. She was she very introverted, not her realm. But unlike most executives who talked about their leadership journey, she talked about all her failures and all the jobs she didn't get. Up to that point, every executive sounded like they'd gotten every job they ever applied for in their entire lives since they worked at McDonald's. And she was literally like, I really wanted that one and I didn't get it. I wasn't ready. And the amount of people that crowded her after that going, I see myself in you. And now you're giving me a North Star that is attainable because I also can fail and still be in a position that you're in. So I love the idea of that because it only fosters engagement within the team and the large organization.
Yeah, some people respond to hustle and drive talk, and you know what I mean? I don't like it, and I think it's really few and far between. I think most people respond to compassion and elements of the human condition. And that's sometimes part of our problems in organizations is that we're so work and busy oriented. We're not human oriented. And so people that might be having tough times going on in their life don't know how to navigate things because they might not have someone back home to talk. And at work, they might not have someone to talk about there.
Right.
So at least we cultivate. So you mentioned motivation. That's an area I spend a lot of time. We cultivate the grounds at work, hopefully, for people to feel heard so that they can navigate their own paths, right? Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you're not lonely at home. So what's to mean that everything's good at home? What can we do for people that are giving the best parts of their day to our organization so that they can feel supported, so that they can feel like they have enough energy at the end of the day to go home and tackle home, things like that. And so I think it's really important that we're cultivating that space. But it's so easy going back to that busyness, right? And we did a really good job of this during COVID that, oh, I'm so busy, and the self-talk and things like that, that we have to prioritize, or at least I believe this, and I know you believe this too, that a part of our job is the development of our people and this organization in this other space. Because if we don't do it in this other space, we're going to run out of people to do the work we need to do. We might get performance out of them and grind them through it, but we're going to lose them in the end because they don't feel valued, they feel run down, things like that. And that, I believe, is really the grounds of what you alluded to earlier, where these newer generations are not as interested in leadership roles because they've seen what's happened to their parents. They're starting to get a taste of it as they're starting to come into these new jobs. They go in for these interviews and these organizations talk about their brand and their principles and their values. And they're like, man, I can't wait to work here. Then they start in the first week and they're so let down because they haven't been socialized with the team, that they're not seeing any integrity. They're starting to talk to people and they're like, don't talk to that guy. He'll throw you under the bus, all these other things. And so people deserve this. We deserve this. We need this because people actually like work. Like, I look forward to work. I go on vacation and there's parts of work I miss. And it's not out of a habit. It's out of part of my meaning's tied up and part of my identity's tied up in helping others. And so if that wasn't fun, then I wouldn't want to do it. The same as when you go to the office, if that's not fun, you're not going to want to do it. It's going to pull more out of you than you're possibly able to give. So fun is not a difficult concept. It's different for different people, just as that journey of development is. But I really truly believe that organizations have an obligation to integrate this stuff as a part of their identity, as a part of, this organization as an organism, right? Even though it's just an entity.
And we bring to a close another episode of Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm Russel Lolacher. Happy to have you with us once again. It's Wednesday, so that means we released it. It's about our teams. So that means tomorrow, Thursday, the fourth part of our four-part conversation, well, that gets a little bit more into culture, into the bigger conversations. We also actually talked a little bit more about communication. And I think even though that can sometimes be an individual responsibility, it has such huge impacts on teams and cultures. So Dr. Rob Leone and I couldn't avoid that part of the conversation. And I look forward to sharing that with you tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, I'm going to shut up and leave it there. so I can see you again then. All right, take care.